with another episode of DreamHack Tonight. Now, on the last week, we may have teased that we had either music or Rocket League coming up this week, and I thought, you know what, Nahaz, let's throw a curveball. Let's just do something else entirely, right? You were prepared. It's totally prepared.
It has nothing to do with somebody canceling at the last minute. Absolutely nothing. We planned it this way, guys.
Yeah, we wanted to keep you on your toes and keep things exciting. So what we're actually going to talk about this week is some really exciting news in DreamHack kind of doing something differently than what we've done before. A lot of people know us for our esports and, professional teams, tournaments focused and everything, but we've been having a lot of fun in the last year doing a little more influencer focused. So we've got these huge titles that Nahaz, I don't know that you'd normally associate with DreamHack, right? We've got Apex, Call of Duty, Fall Guys, Worms Rumble, and Magic Online that we're all running these big, there's over $30,000 in prize pool. We're running these big tournaments. I mean, if you, who's worked with DreamHack as Dota talent, had said, oh, DreamHack's doing Fall Guys, I mean, would that have surprised you?
Well, it would have surprised me because of the history, but not. I have been trying to convince a lot of the big esports organizations to branch out in this direction because I think the line between influencer-driven content and friendly competitions on Twitch and esports is a lot more blurry than a lot of people seem to believe. Like seeing this kind of stuff, seeing your favorite big streamer having fun playing a game is what makes people want to get into that title competitively. So I think it makes all the sense in the world for a company like DreamHack to have their fingers in titles like Fall Guys and Apex that really do have that kind of competitive potential from the standpoint of just the entertainment value of watching the title. They're great games to watch.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I think it's going to be super fun. We're pulling in a bunch of musicians, we're pulling in pro players, and then, partnering them all up in this Pro-Am type thing. We told pro teams, hey, you can't play as your stack. That's not fun. You have to split up. We'll assign you people. Because, it's going to make it more fun.
Come on. It's some of the most entertaining content in sports is watching Charles Barkley try to swing a golf club. Right? This is the same kind of thing. I don't think we do enough of this in esports. I mean, the all-star games at TI, right, for the people that follow Dota, are always so much fun, and I always wonder why we don't try to do more of that. So this kind of stuff is great to me.
Well, and that's why, so we did it once before when Worms Rumble launched. We worked with Team 17 and we ran this $2,000 Worms Rumble tournament. And Worms is this nostalgic game, and then they've remade it into a battle royale. And so nobody had played it before and nobody knew what they were doing, and they had so much fun. And so we get to do that again, but now people have had some time to practice. So I like that because nobody's pro in Worms. They're not ready to go. But we're really excited
it's
about
a great
that.
Title to watch, and it's something that you can watch it and sort of immediately understand at least the basics of what's going on. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to watch it myself.
So to remind everybody, DreamHack Beyond, July 24th through 31st, we're going to be running these tournaments every single day. It is so close. Let me tell you, as someone in charge of planning things, it's very close. But so you're going to be able to watch that event. You're going to be able to play DreamHack Beyond free online in your browser. There are quests. There are collectible pets. There are avatar customizations. You can watch the streams. You can play the game. You can try out demos and different games for free. All those things you're going to be able to watch are $10,000 Fall Guys or Call of Duty or Apex tournaments in-game while you play or on Twitch. But we always have a guest. We've got a great guest here today. So we're going to bring onto the show DJBluePDX, who I've known for about a year and a half now. And DJ, I'm going to try and list out all your accolades. Okay, so he travels with chickens, big rubber chicken fan. He does shoutcasting and hosting for all kinds of different games, Fortnite, Apex, Halo. He is getting into that speedrunning world, which is kind of more how I know him from. He does voiceovers. He's a community manager for Play Insula. He's got this huge long list of accolades. And he also used to stream on Mixer. Welcome to the show, DJ.
Hi, how are you? Also, I feel like my chicken would be pro at worms. I feel like that's what chickens eat, and that chicken can fit a big worm in his mouth because he's huge. Also,
I
this
believe
is my
in you,
birthday
chick.
present.
So,
This is my birthday
when
present from
when
DreamHack.
Nessa
So-
was pitching the idea for this show to me, I was like, okay, how do we make sure that week after week we're not just doing the same show over and over? Chickens. It was clearly the
Exactly.
answer all
Obviously.
along.
chickens and give people worms. So we're gonna get
Yes.
DJ worms, and
I like
that's the easy solution.
I like
So
this
many-
plan. I'm excited
So
to be
many
a part of it.
things I'm not allowed to say about this, and I'm just gonna let it go. And I want points for being mature about this for the moment. Here we go.
And I think I lose those points for saying that I was going to give you worms, but that's fine. We can
Good diet
focus
plan.
in.
A good diet plan.
So DJ is going to be hosting our speed running for us at DreamHack Beyond. And now we already talked about speed running. We had Joker on here to talk about all the great things about that. So you can check out that episode. We'll focus on all the wonderful other things about DJ, like you're one of our DreamHack partnered streamers, and you've been streaming for us for a couple of months now, playing a bunch of
Yeah.
different games. What are some of the games you've gotten to play, like with DreamHack Plays?
Oh wow. We've done a whole bunch of different things. I got to play. Actually, there's been so much going on. I'm starting to blank on the games. I played some Dying Light. We've played Mass Effect on DreamHack Plays. We've played. I got to do a really good training on Mass Effect. A lot of people didn't understand some of the deeper ways into maneuvering, especially Mass Effect 1, because it is a very different machine than Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3.
Yes.
We played a side scroller on
What's
there.
the best
that
Mass
was,
Effect?
Oh, see, that's a very difficult question. I'm gonna go ahead and say
You're
I
supposed to
think the
warm
best-
them up, Nahaz.
best
Oh
Mass
no,
Effect
come on,
for me
come on. You gotta set the
is
trap.
gonna be the best Mass Effect for me is gonna be 3, for a couple of
Okay.
different reasons. So, and I say this because really it is the best one because it is its final form, in my opinion, with the story and this legend of Shepard and everything that you're doing. But I think 3 finally culminated in a way where players got to finally express themselves and exist as they are and as they live. You know, as a gay streamer, being able to have a relationship in the game that reflected who I am as a person was a very unique first.
That's
for me.
awesome.
I hadn't actually had that opportunity. And before that, it was basically me high-fiving Jack constantly in the bottom of the ship because, you know, she and I were cool and I thought she was awesome. She had cool tattoos. But your experience is going to be, the level of depth that your experience is going to be based on whether or not you played the first 2 games. And anytime that you
Very much
have
so.
writers and a franchise that can embed your, I would say, your emotional investment in the game with relationships that you develop with your crew, and that need to keep them alive, that need to make sacrifices, that need to consistently engage with them in new and different ways, and find out how many times Garrus can continue adjusting the guns on the, you know, on the damn ship. How hard is it? We hardly use them. How are they going out of sync so quickly? Nobody knows. But Garrus is awesome.
Because he's Garrus. I mean,
Right?
no,
He's over there
I
tinkering.
actually, what you just said, I think was it was so cool because I think the reason that most people would say that Mass Effect 2 is the best of the trilogy, which I actually disagree with, is exactly what you just said. That I don't think a lot of people had experienced that visceral feeling of, I've got to keep these guys alive in a video game before that. But I think I think the Horde mode on 3 is criminally underrated. I thought that was actually a lot of fun. I mean, there are still people to play. Yeah, 100%.
I want that multiplayer.
Anyway, I'm
back.
sorry,
That
I
was my
derailed
favorite
this.
thing. Oh no, you're good.
Yo, this
Well,
is
and-
good. This is
Well,
this
I
is
just-
good
I
for
actually-
everybody watching. This is what being a streamer is like. Is you just go
Yeah.
down the rabbit hole of video games.
Oh, yeah.
That's why Beyond is gonna have like 200 something games represented at it, so that you can rabbit hole wherever you want.
So, but two's expansive. The expansive 2 with all the DLCs was incredible. It added so much balance and weight to the story, and so many different opportunities and different missions, which I loved. I would say that there was an adjustment phase because you're dealing with Cerberus, you know, but you develop. That's the bond that you develop. The reason I like 3 is because there is an extremely well thought out and well, I would say, executed relationship portion. So you get the chance to actually become a little more in-depth engaged with one of the characters. But anytime you create a love accent, or I would say option in a game, you have to balance it. And they balance it with tragedy and loss. And there is such an emotional swing in the game. It reminds me of I would say Assassin's Creed 2 Revelation, when you finally get to watch the final chapter of Ezio's life as he is completing this horrible journey that he got put on because of the loss of his family members at the hands of a tyrant. And
so I don't know that I've spoken with somebody whose take on this is so parallel to my own. To me, if they hadn't screwed up the ending, that would be remembered as one of the top 5 definitive video game experiences of all time. Because I think what you're saying is there's and the fact that balance of love and loss managed to incorporate so much of what was developed in the previous 2 titles was just incredible. I mean, this was clearly a labor of love for so many people. And that's I don't know, that to me is also the kind of game that makes such a great streaming experience, because when the experience is so powerful that watching somebody else have that experience, like I just watched Jesse Fairlight Excalibur. I just watched him play through the remastered Mass Effect a couple months ago, and it was like, man, this is really I've seen these games, but this is really entertaining watching somebody else experience it. To me, that's so impressive.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so streaming games is a huge. I mean, that's
this
a huge
is
part
Nessa
of the
getting
industry,
us back
right?
on track.
No, yes,
right?
no, we're drawing back a little here because it is something that I've wanted to ask DJ for a while because I haven't gotten to. So we're talking Mass Effect, Assassin's Creed, the connection you can make through the story, the streamer, etc. Now, DJ, you're working on a game that isn't exactly story driven with Insula. It's not. I mean, it's a battle royale, but here's the thing.
No, it's not. Okay, I've got to correct you. It is a bounty royale, definitely not a battle royale.
Okay.
There is a significant difference between a bounty royale. What we've shown the public so far is simply the multiplayer mechanic, which, to be frank, is the most difficult part of development, because not only do you have to come up with a way of putting all these different networking metrics in, but you've got to be able to track scores. You've got to be able to track mechanics. You've got to be able to get people from multiple different regions locked into a game and not have them desync. Like working with, like, we have our 2 lead developers. I'm just the community manager. I do the voices and direct some of the videos. That's it. These 2 guys work night and day on this game, and getting to experience.
Beautiful. Nahaz, it is.
Go back for the old guy and tell me what the difference between a battle royale and a bounty royale is again.
Battle royale traditionally has a shrinking game space, and the idea is to force the players into a smaller and smaller and smaller environment until you get down to 1 player, and therefore you have to engage within that circle. Or if you try and get outside the circle, well, you're going to die. So with a bounty royale, it is different. Now, there are PvE and PvP elements within the game. So far, the only thing we've ever shown is our PvP. There is a huge, massive story campaign involved in this game.
Okay,
that no one has seen anything aside from.
Difficult to balance, though.
And nobody's seen any of the. We've only hinted at. With certain videos that we've seen posted on Twitter that are now going to be posted on our Steam page and our webpage at playinsula.com. But you will be able, like, there's pieces. We've introduced little characters. We've introduced voices of people as characters. The head of Origin Technologies, the head of Lucrum, and we're coming up with more and more characters. Our main, I would say, comedic relief is my main character, Botbox. DJ Botbox. DJ stands for digital junk. He's just a little junk bot. And
that's what it stands for.
Yeah.
Have you seen a game in this genre where you were happy with the balancing over time though?
No,
games like what you're describing are just so hard to get the game. Like, you look at what happened with Hood, right? It's just so freaking hard to get the
balance. So you're
right.
talking about the bounty royale part specifically, or the story versus the bounty royale?
Let's start with the bounty royale part. So the bounty royale part consists of you start off and there are different objectives in the game. There are different things you have to do. There are going to end up being mini bosses and raid bosses inside of the match as well. Once we get that further part developed, that's down farther along the lines in the alpha. The with regards to the bounty part, the more people you take out, the more targets you take out, the higher your bounty is. The problem is, if you get taken out, that bounty goes to whoever just kicked you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as that happens, and as the game continues, the ping system continues to show where you are more and more and more. And this, your maneuverability, like the aerial dogfighting is really where it gets into play. That's going to be a lot of fun. And we're adding more, and Tash is adding more and more movement mechanics to it and different things to the game that we'll be talking about in our blog later on in the month before we end up getting to alpha at DreamHack Beyond. But when you can engage a story and allow people to get into a game and experience it in a way that I would say advocates for their play style, not everybody is really good at a PvP. Some people may be in there just to simply pull their PvE achievements, which they're going to get. Some people may be accomplishing story mode elements in within the match. So accomplishing certain things within different maps for different reasons. There's going to be all of this happening at once. So it is going to encompass a multitude of different natives. Yeah, different native ideas in how to play a game. I love playing FPS shooters. I am really good, and I'm going to challenge anybody out there. I am really good, probably better than most, at dying in a first-person shooter. I do it often, and I do it well.
No, come on, no. I will challenge you for that title.
I'm sorry.
Name your time and place.
I hold the absolute supreme title. Thank you for red shirting. I will put on my crown. I have the red shirt crown. Thank you.
My Discord and streaming community's name is the Respawn All Stars for a reason, because we're all stars respawning.
I absolutely love it.
Okay, so here's to circle all the way back around to my question, right? This is a very different game than, say, a Mass Effect or an Assassin's Creed in how you stream and interact and everything. So you've been streaming for a while, and I'm curious, what do you value in a game as a streamer that makes it a good game for streaming?
There needs to be story fluidity to it. You need to have a balanced story arc and action. And that's one thing that's difficult with Mass Effect. Mass Effect is a difficult game to sometimes sit and watch being streamed, only because you end up in these long, extended, in some cases, overextended conversations, getting all the information out, because of course that's part of getting your score, getting your achievements. If you have all the conversations and engage fully within the storyline, but it means there's such a long period between action moments where you're really getting into the game and you've got your adrenaline pumping, you're going and you're looking and you're seeing and you're using your biotics. That's where the balance comes in, and you have to balance out when my action is and the story, which means you're going to end up with less time for story in order to make it reasonably even, or have it still maintain coherence. So you have to ramp up the intensity of the story-driven pieces. You need to I look for stories that are going to pull up my heartstrings, are going to excite me, in some cases that may enrage me, because you see these moments in games where they are very reflective of social injustice. They're very reflective of bigotry or biasness in some cases. Like there's all the human only talk from Cerberus that is anti-alien. Well, as somebody, God, I wait for you to come and join us now, the aliens. That drives me nuts, and I distance myself in games specifically from that rhetoric, because even as Shepard, nope, sorry, we ain't talking about that, dog. That's not happening.
I agree. No, it was interesting though. Go ahead.
But I look, when it comes to story-driven games, I look for things that are going to take me on a journey, not just a basic journey, but I want to feel something. I want to feel that moment of despair. I want to feel joy. I want to feel heartbreak. I want to feel satisfaction, and I would say success. You want to feel like you've successfully helped, saved, and bettered the world that you were existing in. You know, when you look at games that have a really great risk and reward system like Dishonored and Dishonored 2, perfect example. Your game changes based on your behavior. If you're a complete and total jerk, you're going to end up with a very short game. If you are consistently helpful and putting yourself on the line and potentially sometimes risking some of the payoff in order to help somebody else in the game, your storyline extends. The aftermath and the end of the game is affected by those choices. I love that because it really forces you to look at your, I would say, your social responsibility with how you're engaging on a platform in a game, and it affects how you see yourself. Because if you see your character doing what you would normally do, there is a recognition point inside of you that says, okay, maybe these are the actions of a jerk.
So I love you. I love it. I love your answer, but so much of what you outlined is also essentially to the answer to what makes a great gaming experience in general. What I'm curious about is, and I think you started to get to this when you talked about pacing, but what is it that great games do all those things, but what is it in a game that allows an audience watching somebody else play the game to become connected with those same experiences and feel those highs and lows? I think that's such an interesting question, because there are so many games that I've connected with emotionally, but I don't think I would feel anywhere near that same level of connection just watching somebody stream, especially if I hadn't played the game myself.
And for that, I would say that is the edict that really determines a good streamer. If you are like the game's balance, you can be an incredible gamer, and your viewers will have a garbage experience if you're not able to express what's happening, what you're feeling. And that is less on the game. Like when it comes to streaming, that's less on the game and more on the entertainer themselves. You need to be like, there's a difference between talking over the game and interacting and engaging with your audience by articulating not only how you're feeling in a concise and informative way, but also being able to engage in a conversation with your audience and not feeling like you're going to be like it's going to be detrimental to the experience itself when you're having a conversation with somebody who may have a different opinion, somebody who may have not had that same thought process, or somebody who has a question about what you did and why you did it. They may have made a different choice in the game and come up with a different result. And being able to have those conversations in real time is very, very helpful. And I think that's what helps engage the audience to being able to have an emotional experience watching Mass Effect, because they're talking about it with each other in chat with you. You're not just experiencing it, you're talking about why this is annoying, or more importantly, why this bothers you.
That's one of the first deep conversations I had about Twitch. I used the analogy of, imagine yourself in a movie theater and somebody's talking about the movie 2 rows away, and most of the time, like 98% of the time that you can imagine, it's going to drive you crazy. That's going to make the movie worse. But with a great streamer and a great community with an active chat, it's like having that person talking during the movie theater and it making it better. And you wanting to talk back as you're experiencing it. There's kind of a magic there.
Well, and you can push pause on the movie.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. You can push pause on the game and go like, let's talk about this. Why is this make us feel uncomfortable? I had to stop playing Wolfenstein because I was uncomfortable with the language.
Okay.
I was very uncomfortable with the language. There was a lot of homophobic and racist language that was used. Now, granted, we're talking about Nazis.
But I so respect
people are assholes by definition.
Yes.
So, like, they're gonna say things that are awful. But in an environment where I try and create a safe and inclusive space for people to be able to engage in and explore, I had to draw a line. There are some things that I'm not comfortable exploring.
And you mentioned safe
on stream
and inclusive. And to me, what could be more safe and inclusive than, hey, let's respect each other's boundaries. Let's respect the fact that there's certain things that make me uncomfortable that I don't care whether they make you uncomfortable. I respect that they do or don't. Like, there needs to be more of that in general. To be frank.
Well, yeah, and being, being honest about how you feel and not saying, oh, I bought this game, I told my stream I would play it, I need to keep playing it. There's a lot of pressures for streamers to do that.
I think it is way underrated how much courage it takes to draw that line publicly, because you will be judged for it.
Yep.
But I think that's awesome.
But it's and my thought process, it's my stream, it's my rules. I represent a multitude of sponsors, and I want to make sure that investment wasn't for nothing. There's a reason why they have invested in my success. There's a reason why I invest in my community. It's because we want to make the world, we want to shape the world in the way that we want to live in it in the future. And if we start in these communities, we spread that mentality outward. People think that gamers are not an active group. Fact is, we are a significant number of people from many different walks of life. And if we continue to evolve within these type of structures where we're learning and talking about and having honest conversations about why some things offend some people and some things don't offend others, and why it's important to figure out those boundaries collectively, respectfully, and then engage in a way that is educational and informative, we can start carrying those same traits and same behavioral patterns out into the real world, which we have been without for the last how long? We may, like in some cases, a lot of people see the toxicity, but there's also that balance of we've had all this time inside with each other. Hopefully we've cemented some of these concepts into our regular everyday socialization, and we will start seeing these different types of behaviors pushed out into the world, utilized in everyday life.
I hope so. I hope so. Let's go ahead, Nessa.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say DJ space is inclusive, and that is obviously important to us. I mean, it's anybody who's followed me on Twitter for more than 5 seconds knows that that's something that I speak about a lot. So DJ's a favorite of mine, and I'm really happy to have you here. And building a chat like that, building a space like that, does take work. I know from experience, because if you are going to put your foot down, you honestly need other people backing you up. Even as the streamer, even as the emperor of your own kingdom, empire, etc. You do need that sort of, aura, community there that kind of,
because the peasants will revolt. Let's face it.
Yes, yeah, and essentially,
I think teaching in a classroom is the same way. For the record, that you have to have people that buy into what you're trying to do, to the type of environment you want to create, and want to be active in reinforcing and shaping that environment, not just willing to abide by its rules. There's a difference between somebody that comes in and says, hey, I'm willing to behave as you tell me to, and somebody that says, no, I really buy the vision that you have for this community that you're trying to create, and I want to be a part of making that work.
And then they actively work towards that. And so the question I wanted to ask was, you were on Mixer, you were one of the Mixer partners. Exploded. Yeah, you were doing really well there. You had a great community, which is honestly what Mixer was really good at, was community. And they pushed Twitch to implement a lot of features to make the community interaction better. You had to switch back over to Twitch. You had to rebuild your community. And again, it's for everybody out there, building an inclusive community is hard because it is different and people don't necessarily welcome change. And so I'm curious to know, what was that process of rebuilding on Twitch like for you?
Well, I started out on Twitch. So I was actually the executive producer for Griffball Hub, which was the professional gaming league for that division within Halo. And I was the shoutcaster for that for years. Decided to go solo and discovered that there were things about the environment that were, I would say, discouraging.
Yeah. So
one day a friend of mine said, hey, come, I want to stream, but I want to stream on Beam. I want you to come stream with me on Beam. I was like, ugh, fine. One day, it took me one day, and I never left. I never went back to Twitch after that. I was partnered 3 months later. And what I loved about it was Microsoft, despite all of the things that I'm frustrated with them about right now, it does a really great job of creating a protective and I would say empowering the people that are working within its ethos, and that I loved. I also love the FTL feature because I was able to have a conversation in real time with my chat, and look
Yeah.
at my screen, and if somebody rolls down and says, wait, you missed something, because there are times when I'm like, hey, I allow some, there are some games where I allow backseat gaming. I want them to help me out because it gets them engaged, and there are things that I might miss, Easter eggs that I might miss. So I will and having a real-time chat means I'm not 5 to 10, maybe 15 seconds behind their ahead of their comments, and I've already passed the checkpoint and I can't go back. But it also allowed us to have those real conversations about stuff and talk with people live on stream and not wait for the delay to catch up. Obviously, they respected my music licensing. I was able to DJ there without any issues, and it was a wonderful experience. Why I ended up going from the Respawn All-Stars. We merged with the Comedy Crew for years. That was where the Rubber Chicken thing started. And I was, I toured the world as a mixer partner and as an advocate for these types of community engagements. So it was a lot of fun to be able to do that.
I've got three kind of nerdy things for you. All right. One is, so the streaming industry environment is very interesting to me as an economist because, for those, not to go too much into this nerdy crap, but it's an example of network externalities where the value to each user is increasing the number of users on the site. And that's interesting because it breaks all of the sort of Econ 101 things that we teach about how firms compete. Now,
yes.
So Mixer had a bunch of really good ideas, and I think they don't get enough credit, but ultimately they failed. What do you think it is going to take? What do you think it would take for another platform to come along and be a serious competitor to Twitch in the space? Too general?
That is a very large question. So I think at this point, Twitch's dominance in the industry has made a very, it has
I knew I'd
been
get Nessa with
challenged,
this one too.
has been challenged, and they have succeeded. I think part of what would be required in order to actually succeed, because you see other competitors, and I give them props. You've got Glimish or Glimesh, however the hell you say it. You've got Trovo, DLive, obviously YouTube gaming, which is a thing. That's YouTube is YouTube. That's a whole different story. And then there's Facebook. So we'll just leave that one alone. For me, I think they have to have a backing that has the corporate investment side that is aligned with the vision. I think that there was a lot going on in the background, and then there was a lot that wasn't properly maintained. And we ended up, as we saw that happened 2 summers ago, or last summer, there was a lot of things coming out of the woodwork. There was a lot of things coming out that needed to have been said, that had been festering for far too long. And as partners, we had been complaining, or we've been providing feedback to the powers that be about things that needed to change. And there was a blockade in place by one single person, in my understanding. And rather than fix the issue, in my opinion, this is not an official stance of anything. From what it looked like from outside as a partner, it seemed like it was easier to avoid liability to just shut down the entire division than to address the managerial or executive leadership issue that happened, and that dysfunction ended up ruining what was happening. Now, whether or not that's accurate compared to what was going on behind the scenes, I don't know. We'll never know, because there was suddenly a lack of transparency, and all we got was a notice on Twitter and an email saying, hey. And those of us who were either Microsoft or Microsoft employees got an email about 45 minutes ahead of time. And
Nessa, you got to jump in here, because you had that expression for a while that always I see on your face when you've got something really cool to say.
So here's the deal. Everyone says, what does it take to be a legitimate competitor to Twitch? This is a very, very Northern Hemisphere, Western perspective.
Great observation.
Twitch is probably the bottom of the 3 major platforms. The difference is that Twitch has the most attention from corporate United States of America. which dominates the news cycle.
Well, sure.
If you go to Southeast Asia or South America, you are going to find Facebook streams with 500,000 people watching. If you go to China, you're going to find all their streaming platforms with millions of people watching.
Well,
Twitch.
Part of the issue there is that those numbers are very hard to.
Yes.
It's hard to know what to do with the numbers from China, but the numbers from Facebook are real, and that's
The numbers from Facebook
I like
are
that
amazing.
observation a lot.
I have to.
And
I have to,
YouTube.
go ahead.
Yeah, so and YouTube user base is massive. So YouTube and Facebook both suffer from discoverability issues greater than Twitch's because they are multi-use platforms where Twitch is a single purpose platform, which allows user accessibility better. However, if you are in a country in which you don't get charged to use internet on your smartphone, if you use Facebook, you can bet that they are all on Facebook, and it's a massive platform. So Twitch gets a lot of news cycle coverage because we're based in North America, because there's a lot of advertising dollars. Yes, because they're Amazon. That's all huge. But so many people say, what does it take to take down Twitch or to provide competition? I'm like, listen, it's already there. It's just not there in North America.
Yeah.
And Twitch is also the
It's interesting the way you answer that, because the classic like Econ 101 way out of the network externality problem is product differentiation. Like to me, I don't think you're going to out Twitch, but I think there are I think there's a Twitter out there of gaming streaming. I think there's a TikTok of gaming streaming. I don't think you're going to necessarily beat Twitch by providing a better same platform, but I think there are other media formats that can provide a similar experience that are yet to be discovered. So thing number two, I can't let you go without talking a little bit of DMCA, because you brought up rights and you brought up music licensing. From the economist perspective, I think DMCA is one of, if not the biggest issues facing the gaming and streaming industries right now. That the potential for value destruction over essentially trivialities is just so huge and scary to me, because the incentive structure is so screwed up. So what are your thoughts on that, and what's been your experience interacting with those set of constraints?
I get why DMCA was created, and I understand piracy needs to be stopped. Honestly, these artists and producers are making the music that we're listening to over and over and over again. They need to be paid for their work, period. I think DMCA was created at a time when internet and streaming was in its infancy. It was absolutely unfathomable at that point in its development that it would be where it is now. It is outdated and archaic. It needs to be revamped or updated to reflect current modern trends in media absorption. It needs to be updated to reflect the potential future for transmedia across the board, whether it's video, music, or otherwise. Licensing. Monster Cat does a great example of licensing distribution pieces. So for $5 a month, you can get Monster Cat Gold, right? Anything and they've got a whole curated list that's, hey, this is all part of that content creator's license, and I can play anything in that list. I have I DJ'd a full 3-hour Monster Cat set so that I have fully mixed music for my intros, outros, and hold screens, so that I've got, and it's not like it just fades to, goes and fades out and comes into the next track. These are fully DJ'd mixed sets. It's a full performance that I use, and it's all part of, and I keep up with my licensing. The problem here is professional performers are, let me switch this up so I can get this in a different way. The rights of performers and producers and everybody who puts in on a song need to be represented. They truly, honestly do. It's not 100%. It's not Miley Cyrus walking up with a guitar, playing it, and all of a sudden she's got a song. There are writers, producers, there are backup singers, there are investors. They've got it. You've got all these other people who are putting money in to get this album sold, and they all get their respective
they deserve
pieces.
to eat.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Now, as a DJ, I pay fees for my PROs, so it's professional the rights organizations, so performance rights organizations, so that I can do these things and perform at places like DreamHack or at concert venues, in bars, etc., at festivals. Oftentimes, businesses themselves, if I'm performing at like a gym or an outdoor festival, they've covered and paid those PROs for the opportunity to put out there. It's interesting because when I went to the PROs and asked BMI, CSEC, not CSEC, ASCAP.
Yeah. So mixing up your acronyms a little bit.
There you go. But you go to these and I want to add my
Twitch stream,
my Twitch page to my licensing. It's not an option. It's not like the site's already covered for everything. The site is already covered for everything. I can't add it on like I do with Monster Cat. I can't pay a fee. Right. I can't pay a license to get, all right, these are the things. Now, do I have private relationships with different labels? And they send me hundreds of tracks to play with? Sure. The problem is Twitch got in bed with a company called Audible Magic. Audible Magic is a completely autonomous software that goes through and scans everything.
Yep.
So that's what will get you muted, and then and that report comes out. And then from there, the live takedowns, you have to be the license holder and the rights holder, and you can issue a live takedown on a live show and have it happen. There needs to be a system in place, because I'll be honest, as a DJ, so that I could actually keep the music on my VODs, I would gladly pay a fee, a monthly fee.
And I know a lot of creators
so that money goes out to whoever it needs, or issue it through Twitch, and Twitch pays a bulk to UMG, etc., blah blah blah, or everyone that Audible Magic is doing all this back work for. And I get that Twitch wants to protect itself from the liability of people playing things. And honestly, a lot of it wasn't music to begin with. Right. Well, and the thing is,
the platforms have all the incentive to offload legal exposure onto the individual content creators, and that's what you see them doing. They could create and protect, more importantly, such a huge amount of economic value by being willing to function as middlemen, as you're essentially describing here.
So there's an additional complication here too, though.
Well, there's more to it.
Okay.
Look. Yeah.
Mine will be quick. I'll just put it in here for a little bit of context as well. This also applies to the movie and TV show industry.
That's what I was about to say. That's where it started.
So here is another issue to keep in mind. When these things were filmed, when these licensing rights were written and signed, Twitch, Netflix, Hulu did not exist. How do you pay out royalties to an artist from the 70s when nothing like this was even begun to be written in anywhere? So that's an additional
that's an answered question, though. That's not like the answer isn't trivial, but that is an answered question, right? There is a process for that. Although I won't pretend to understand it, the folks that I know in legal have assured me that as thorny as it might be, that's something that we can take as more or less solved. Now, maybe you can argue that those folks are wrong.
So I spoke to an actor on a show, that was a show before streaming was a big thing, and this was still presented as a problem. This is still an issue when those things go on streaming sites. So that's still a question that is not fully solved.
Here's the thing. So one of the big reasons for the live takedown recent update, and they've been able to do live takedowns. Now it's easier for you to do a live takedown on a show if you're the rights owner for a piece of media. People were streaming pay-per-view fights. People were streaming movies or TV shows, even with their VODs off, so they didn't get clocked, but their viewers could come in. They could do a subscriber only, and then it's just subs watching. The problem is that also bleeds over into the music side.
Yeah, and that's the problem, because you do have to shut that down.
Now, exactly, and I get that, and
you have to shut it down completely. It's
right. So for people who are
that is your company. That is like that path leads to your company being liquidated, and it leads there very quickly.
Right.
Which is what people need to understand.
Let's look at the Snyderverse situation. When HBO's Snyder Cut came out, and they had it on HBO Max, there were people trying to stream it.
You have done your homework
to their audience. Right. Sorry, that's straight up that's not legal. Okay.
Yeah.
And I get people want to see it. Well, you know what? Pay the $7.99 for 1 month of HBO Max. There you go. Heck, get a 2-week free thing and just power through it. Easy peasy, super simple. But that way, it's getting people their money. Now, there is a system that's already in place that could dictate where and when tracks are being played, so that part of that monthly fee goes to the right artists. And do you know what it's called? Audible magic. They can scan and they know exactly what it's coming through because you're hearing the tags. The tags are actually scannable. That's why it's listening in the background for all the music. And if they created that and adjusted that algorithm so that it was able to identify, boom, this monthly fee goes to these people. Blam. You're good. Or they do it on a bulk, like, all right, we've got everybody paying $15, $10 a month. How many users do we have?
Why
like, just
in the world?
But do they not do it?
Somebody connect the damn dots?
Oh, hold on. So there's 2 things. I got to answer this question. One, there are not enough people working at Twitch to give a flying rat's ass about what's happening.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
And if they do, their transparency and dedication to the process has been waylaid by their inability and ineffectivity. And I'm not trying to slam Twitch. I'm simply saying their inability and ineffectivity in even managing the balance of their own TOS, let alone trying to improve the user experience. Now, granted,
this is a return
it's better than
to
Facebook because Facebook, hold on real quick, I got to finish this. Facebook will shut your stream off like that. They don't still shut it completely down, whether or not you have the licensing rights for it at all. It doesn't matter.
Facebook actually has licensing rights for everybody. So now, I want to.
Legitimately write a paper on what you just said.
No. Hold on. Reinessa, they have licensing rights for people who are playing games. I cannot DJ on Facebook as a DJ. Whether because they will not. There's nobody to actually submit my licensing to. There's nobody who will look at what I actually have and can do. That's why I chose not to go to Facebook Gaming when Mixer closed, and I came to Twitch. Now, there are ways around it.
Am I understanding you right? That what you're telling me is that at least on paper, Twitch actually has the infrastructure to fix this.
No. Okay. I do not. I have zero information about that. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah.
As a first, they obviously can scan the tracks. They know what tracks are being played.
So it would require a significant extension of that.
And it would depend. I mean, we don't know. We don't know what the monetary investment is there. We don't know what the back end is. We don't know what the creator uptake is. Right. So I mean,
so and it's a
lot of work.
In some sense, it's irrelevant anyway because they don't have the incentive currently. Right.
Correct.
And that's what I see as the economist.
So Nahaz, think of it kind of like Valve. Think of it like Valve, right? There's wonderful people who are connected with creators who want to make change. That doesn't necessarily happen because honestly,
because the collective is in some cases less than the
if you're not running a perfect assembly line with every single thing happening, things fall through the cracks. Things don't get the priority that necessarily some people want. You have to spend a lot of time convincing people. And meanwhile, you have this giant, rumbling war machine tornado that's just picking up more stuff as it goes. And so no matter how good intentions are or how simple the solution
You've just described so many things that go on in the gaming industry. My God.
And I want to be...
I mean, people don't understand. There are such bright people in this space. But in so many cases, the collective is so much less than the individual's abilities going in.
So, and I want to be really clear about something. This is not the intention is not to badmouth Twitch. I think Twitch has many other things that they should be focusing on. I have friends who are partners who don't have a partner manager. They've never had a partner manager. They've been partners for years. There is a staffing need at Twitch that needs to get away from
I'm glad you said that,
automation,
because
this
I hope
automation
people
process.
don't get that impression.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm not
from that
Twitch,
from this conversation. That's not the
and I
goal.
wanna, I'm very happy with where my career is going on Twitch. I think it's compared to where it was before I left for Mixer, Twitch is a completely different machine now. And I am very, very happy to now represent like Twitch on this level. I think that they have a lot to work on. And I think that as we continue to have these discussions, hopefully there will come a time when they finally start going, all right, maybe we need to add some more people and start getting our hands back into this mix so that we're actually hands-on instead of so hands-off.
And that's
a lot to ask.
As they were.
It's not an easy solution. It's not an easy.
No,
solution.
I think it's important, and you have a lot to work on when your product is good. Nobody wants to work on a shitty product. Like, Twitch's product is really good, which is why there's so much.
That's why we care so much, right? Like that's why DJ is like, oh my gosh, this would be super cool, or this would be cooler. I mean, that's why you didn't end up on Facebook, which has other strengths. So for instance, Facebook, as you said, they did secure licensing for their partnered streamers for the big three. They did whatever magic they did behind the scenes that happened. But if you're not partnered or you're not gaming, it's a different story. So we've kept DJ for a very long time. So I'm gonna say
you're fine.
Can I ask my last one?
Yes.
Well, okay.
So we did this. I have to satisfy my own curiosity here. So when we first got introduced, I knew your voice from somewhere, and you said Halo, and I was like, oh yeah. Have you ever done any kind of professional voice work in terms of voice coaching or voice training? Because you really have a very distinctive tone. And a friend of mine from Dota, a capitalist, thought about doing professional voice work for a while, and I still hope he does, because I think he's just got a great voice, great enunciation. Have you done any of this? Because it sure sounds like you have.
If by coaching you mean a mirror in the bathroom and a bottle of vodka, sure. No, those count. No, here, if you can make the weird voices. Oh yeah, no, you got to be able to make the weird voices, staring yourself in the eye and not break character. That's the thing.
Okay. So for our last,
but I've
wait,
a background.
Hang on, DJ. I'm gonna let Nahaz think about this while you finish what you're saying. Nahaz, you have a child. I know you have weird voices. I think to wrap up the episode, we should all pick our weirdest voice and demonstrate it. So you're gonna have a moment to think about that. DJ, continue what you were saying.
So I have a background in radio. I've got a degree in radio and broadcast production. So with a minor in journalism. So, and then I went and taught college broadcast streaming, because they said when I got time for interning, I said, "What do you want to do? Where do you want to do your internship?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to do it streaming." He said, "That's not a thing. Yeah, like that's really not a thing." And I looked at them and I said, "Here's the thing. When radio came out, print news thing, it's not a thing, it'll never be a thing, it's gonna die, and it's not gonna matter."
Yeah.
When television came out, radio said, it's not a thing, it'll never be a thing, it's not gonna matter. When cable
online news
broadcast,
came out,
broadcasting, and all the way through the marks, and I said, all of this has happened before, and it will all happen again. So what do you want to bet that this becomes the next greatest form of media delivery? Wouldn't you rather be on the right side of history than chasing what was upcoming? Because that's what I'm doing. And ironically, Kyle is the one who was head of my internship, and I interned with Kyle, ironically. But the broadcasting thing, that's
another
what happened.
DreamHack creative producer, for those who don't know.
Yeah, back with we were with a different esports organization. I was producing there, shoutcasting there. So the broadcasting side of things, that's how that adjusted out. The weird voices, I've always just been an awkward person. I've been in theater. I sang opera as a kid. So it just kind of lended to being able to express myself verbally in a much wider range than normal. So Yeah, and so now I'm voicing multiple different characters in Insula. I'm voicing a couple different characters in an upcoming game that I'm not allowed to talk about at the moment. All I can say is that I'm voicing characters for a. There you go.
Awesome.
But yeah, and I've done, and of course, you add the advent of voice modulation and devices like a Go XLR or a Master's Machine. You can really, anytime you have a digital audio workstation, you can really manipulate the voice in a way that lends, I would say, animation to it. So if I want to do something really dark,
and extraordinarily deep, I can see into your soul.
weird
Very
things.
Shadow Fiend of him.
Wow.
If I want to be a little robot whose name is DJ Botbox, well, then that's who I am now.
And it's the little things. So you can get awkward
That's so
at
good.
accents, and that's it widens that range of what I get to do. And I love it because I get to be just bonkers
Yeah, that's
odd.
so much fun.
Okay, so we got to hear a couple from DJ. Nahaz, what's the weirdest voice that you can do?
The weirdest voice I can do on demand.
Yes,
I have no
on
idea.
demand. You have okay, so this is
I do. You are absolutely right. I do the voices. I do Duchess Hightower for the Princess in Black books like this. Yeah, I do the voices for my daughter's silly little 7-year-old books, but you know,
Excellent.
I don't know. I can't
that's-
I can't do a good Dota voice.
No, that's fine. I wasn't saying Dota voice.
Well, this is the
Okay.
really weird voice that I break out when I want to mess with people.
Oh, I like
It's just
that.
like, kind of sound like Stitch.
So that's there's fun way. I know everybody has one, so I thought that'd be a fun way to wrap it up.
I like it.
DJ, where can people find you if they want to find the like a billion different things that you do?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch at DJBluePDX. But I don't use the Facebook; it's just there to refer you to Twitch. But yeah, everything is DJ
familiar.
Blue PDX. You can find out more about Insula Bounty Royale.
DJBluePDX.
Yep, you can find out more about Insula Bounty Royale at playinsula.com or follow our social media channels at playinsula.
All right, cool. Well, thank you for joining us on the show. You're going to see DJ at DreamHack Beyond handling a lot of our speedrunning hosting. Okay, Nahaz, I know I threw a wrench in the plans. I really pulled in an interesting guest here. What'd you think?
That was what a guy. I mean, that was amazing. I knew the guy's voice from years ago from Halo, but man, oh man. I like I said, I could have written a paper about several different things that he said about the streaming industry and about licensing. It's just a great thing to nerd out about, really.
That's
And guess what, guys? As I like to tell my undergrads, in real life, nerds get paid.
I think that's a perfect place to end. So remember, DreamHack Beyond, July 24th to 31st. You can head over to dreamhack.com/beyond to find all of our tournaments, different things you can sign up and enter in, get your free ticket to the show. Thank you for watching this episode. Feel free to drop any comments or thoughts or anything, down below. And we will see you next week where it will be music this time. We promise. Thanks for watching, everyone.